Hi all, up here in the corner, I'm Brian Russell and I'm going to be your professor for Philosophy B9, Critical Thinking and Advanced Composition. Today I'm going to show you how to get to our course Canvas shell, and I'm going to walk you through the syllabus and course mechanics. So let's start with how to get to our Canvas shell. So go to bakersfieldcollege.edu, click up here in the top left inside BC. I'll take you to a page that looks like this. You'll have a link up here, or a link to a menu. It'll say My Courses on yours. You'll click down on our course and that'll take you to the course Canvas shell. Currently I have the home page for our Canvas shell as our syllabus. I'm going to change that to the modules page, but if I haven't by the time you're clicking around, then whenever you go to our course Canvas shell, make sure you click on this menu on the left hand side. Go ahead and click the modules link. Modules link takes you to the modules page where all the course content will be chunked into weekly assignments. So for the first week, you have to do this welcome module, you have to look at the syllabus and watch the video that you're currently watching, the syllabus review and course mechanics. You can, if you'd like, if you haven't done it before, I suggest it, you can do this online orientation, and you can just start by clicking on the welcome, and you can go through page by page, and it's a nice orientation to how classes work online at BC. And then for this week you'll have to do the week 1 assignment. So you'll have some reading, you'll have to watch a lecture, a couple lectures, there are a couple quizzes that are for 0 points just to make sure you're picking up the material. There'll be a homework set and you'll have to write your first 1-page paper this week. So all that will be up by the time you're watching this video. Alright, so now that you know how to find our course, let's go ahead and look at the course syllabus. And it might actually be better to look at it over here. Alright, so you know my name, you know the course you're in. Let's talk about my office hours. So this semester I'll be doing office hours in Zoom. I'll be doing those Monday and Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Right here on the syllabus I have a link to those office hours. I'll also put this link in the welcome module, so you'll be able to access it from many different points. And the way I'll be doing office hours, I'll be using a waiting room. So if you come in and you're in the Zoom waiting room, I may be dealing with another student, or I may have just stepped out of the office for just a second. Give me some time to get to you, and I'll get to you as fast as I can. If you want to contact me, the best way to do it is via email. So email me at brian.russell@bakersfieldcollege.edu. I try to respond within about 2 days. If I haven't responded to you within 2 days of you sending me the email, then go ahead and send me another email and say, hey Brian, I sent this to you 2 days ago, you haven't gotten back to me yet. Do you mind answering my question? And I'll have no problem I have no problem with that. Things fall through the cracks. I get a ton of emails every semester, so no hard feelings if you send me another email. But again, I try to get back within 2 days. Course description and learning outcomes. Basically, what we'll be doing in this class is we'll be doing logic in about the first 2/5 of the class. We'll be learning about arguments, how to find them, how to break them down into their parts, how to rearrange them in a way where the structure of the arguments makes sense to you, how to analyze the arguments to see if they're good or bad, how to talk confidently in technical terms about whether they're good or bad, and then how to put that information, the information you've gained from your analysis of the argument, into an essay of your own. You'll be doing that in short form. You'll have a whole bunch of 1-page papers that you'll have to write, and you'll have 3 big papers that you'll have to write, leading up to the final big paper, which is approximately 7 or 8 pages. We'll be using 1 textbook for this class, and I'll also be using a host of supplementary material. The textbook that we'll be using is A Concise Introduction to Logic. I say preferably the 11th or newer edition, preferably because I actually use the 12th edition, but the edition actually doesn't matter so much. I would say if you can find the 7th or newer edition, then you'll be completely fine in this course. That's really nice for you because look at what we can do. We can do a search, Concise Introduction to Logic, free PDF. And then we can go down to the second link, not the first. So this is by Craig Delaney. That's not our author. We're looking for Patrick Hurley. So note Hurley right here. When you click on that, it'll take a little while, but what will come up is the entire 7th edition of the book. Now, about the only difference, edition to edition, are the problem sets. So you'll have slightly different, if you use this as your text for the course, you'll have slightly different problems in the text than you'll see in the homework sets that I put on Canvas. That's completely okay though, because you don't need to look at the homework set, the problem sets in this text at all. I'll have my own problem sets, problems that I've handpicked from our text that you can do in Canvas. But the chapters are essentially the same. So if you're reading this in the 7th edition or you're reading this in the 13th edition, the text is about the same. So if you want to save some money and some time and you want the text immediately, this is a good option for you. So, Concise Introduction to Logic, free PDF. I think you should do this with all your texts. I can't share this link for you because I think I'd be violating all sorts of copyright laws if I'm not already. So I can't share the links with you, but you can do this search yourself. There'll be all sorts of pieces that go into your final grade. We'll have a midterm and final exam. The midterm exam will be basically a logic test. So you'll be doing some multiple choice logic problems. You'll have to diagram an argument. You'll have to analyze an essay. So there'll also be an essay component on that. And then the final exam will just be on the content we're covering in this course. So the course is sort of broken up into two pieces. First 2/5 of the class logic, next 3/5 of the class will be covering our topic. And what our topic is, I'll get to in a little bit. Grading is pretty straightforward. Let's talk about the things that you'll find in Canvas, the assignments that you'll have to do. So there'll be some required reading. For the first week, I actually have posted the reading that you'll have to do, so you can just click on that link for 1.1. It's introducing us to arguments and explaining how to find their parts. So when you go to the modules page, you'll just be able to click right on that. Let's go ahead and open this in a new tab. And I skipped us over to the modules page. So in week 1, you'll see right here up top, you'll see Hurley Logic 1.1 to 1.3. You only have to read 1.1 for the first class. And I'll make that very clear. I'll have an introductory message or video at the top of week 1. I'll also send you emails at the beginning of every week so you know exactly the assignments that you have to do for that week. So you'll have some required reading. You also have videos. Some of those videos will be me giving you short mini lectures. Some of those videos will be from other content creators that I think do a really good job of explaining little concepts and skills that you'll need to learn. In some of the videos that I do, at the end of the video, you'll see reference to quiz questions. In this class, you won't have any quizzes that are graded. The post-lecture quizzes that you'll see, there'll be 0 points. They'll just be questions that you can answer to make sure that you're getting the content. So they're self-checks. They will never be graded at all in this course. And if they are, tell me I've made a mistake. So you'll hear at the end of the video, I'll give you some post-lecture quizzes sometimes. You can do those if you choose. You need not do them. If you decide to do them, you'll need to write down what the question is and what the answer is, because when you open the post-lecture quiz, you won't see any question. I'll just say, for example, what's the answer to quiz question number 1? Let's take a look at that. So, in the trolley problems post-lecture quiz, the quizzes will look like this. The answer to quiz question 1 is A, B, or C. So what is question 1? I tell you in the lecture. What are A, B, and C? I tell you in the lecture. So if you want to do these for practice, you have to watch those lectures and you have to write down what the questions were and what the answers were so you can come over here and do the quiz. You'll have homework sets that you'll have to do. I call it a homework packet because when we do this class face-to-face, you actually hand in a physical packet when we do the midterm. In this class, there will be problem sets built into Canvas. So in the module, I don't have it up yet, but in the module, you will see, it'll say 1.1 homework. You'll click on that. It'll take you to a series of problems and do the homework. The way we get better at doing logic is by doing logic. The way we get better at critical thinking is by doing critical thinking. So make sure you're spending time on the homework. I would suggest that you do the homework do the assigned homework for the week before we have no class meetings for this course. So I would suggest you do the homework early in the week so you can have the writing that you'll have to do for later in the week. Papers. We will have, let's see, you'll have to write 23 papers. Nope, not 23. 13 papers for this class. So we'll have 10 what I call micro papers worth 20 points each, assigned throughout the semester. These are one-page papers in which you crisply lay out the conclusion and premises of a given reading and provide an objection to the argument, so an objection to the premises of the argument and a response to the objection. So these are little writing exercises will be the way to look at them. I'm not looking for what your opinion on the topic is. These are argument analysis papers, and your conclusion will always be chosen for you. You will always have to defend the argument in these micro papers. So you'll have to lay out what the argument is, present as cleanly as you can an objection to the argument, to the premises of the argument, and then you'll have to respond to that objection. So you'll have to show that whether or not you agree with the argument, there is at least a good response to one of the best objections to the argument. I'll assign those throughout the semester. You'll find them, like everything else, in the course modules page. You will have 3 big papers that you have to write. Now, I call them big papers, but a big paper here is a technical term meaning more than 1 page. So the first big paper that you'll have to write is 3 to 4 pages, and it will just be a straight research paper on a topic which I'll talk about later. The second paper that you'll have to write is an argumentative paper about ethical theory that we're going to cover, so spoiler, we'll be talking a little bit about ethics in this class. The final paper, I've built this class so that the final paper is a summative paper. It will pull together aspects, or one of the ways you can do it is pull together some of the research you did for the first paper, some of the ethical analysis you did in the second paper, and pull that together for your final paper. The state of California requires that you have 20,000 words written by the end of this course. One of the ways I try to help you out to get to reach that goal is we can recycle some of the work you did for the first 2 papers for the final paper. I'll talk more about all those assignments individually as they come up. All right, we talked about what the exams would be. You will have a practice exam for the midterm, for the logic exam that we're going to have. I'll post a practice test so you can see how you're likely to do on the actual exam. And then for the final, you'll have a study guide. Since it's not problem solving, it'll be making sure you understand the content. You won't have a practice test, but you'll instead have a study guide. Academic integrity is really important, especially for this class. We're doing a lot of writing in this class. I especially want you to be very handy with what plagiarism means. I take plagiarism really seriously. If I catch you plagiarizing, I'll give you a 0 on an assignment at the very least, and I very well may turn you in to the Dean of Students and get a case going with him. I've been through that process a few times now. It doesn't go very well. I mean, it does end up being useful for students, but it makes a ton of extra work. You go on academic probation until you meet with the writing center, write a handful of additional essays, and then they'll take you off academic probation. It is a pain. It's a pain for me to fill out all the forms. It's a pain for you to have to go through this. So please do not plagiarize intentionally. Also do not plagiarize unintentionally. I link here to our district's definitions of plagiarism and cheating. I also link to another site. I think this site from Bowdoin College does a great job of breaking down different kinds of plagiarism, and I suggest you're very handy with it. I'm going to cover them right here, right now, because it's such a big issue in this class. So direct plagiarism you might be familiar with, where you copy word for word. You go to Wikipedia and you copy something and paste it into a paper. That's really easy for me to find, and it's really bad. It will get you a 0. Now, self-plagiarism. Self-plagiarism you might not be familiar with. In college courses, for each course, you're expected to come up with original work. So you can't take writing from other courses and bring it to this course. If you do, that will count as plagiarism. That's happened in my classes before. I've caught it multiple times. Now, the one I really want to go over here is what's called mosaic plagiarism, because it's becoming more and more common. Mosaic plagiarism occurs when a student borrows phrases from a source without using quotation marks, or finds synonyms for the author's language while keeping to the same general structure and meaning of the original. Sometimes called patch writing, this kind of paraphrasing, whether intentional or not, is academically dishonest and punishable, even if you footnote your source. So this happens many different ways. Sometimes people will have a source in their works cited page, but they'll use it inappropriately in the body of their text. They'll have an entire paragraph where the words are changed from their source, but the ideas come in exactly the same order. Without a citation, that's plagiarism. Another way this occurs is when students use thesaurus programs. So let me show you an example. So here's something called Dr. Essay. You come to something like this, you copy it, and you put it in here, and let's see what comes out. Automatic rewrite the article. And then you'll get something like this. Self-plagiarism occurs when a learner submits his or her own prior work or medley ability of previous duty without toleration from all professors involved. One thing to note here, this is completely illegible. You'll see the original text, very clear. This new text, completely illegible. Now, that's one reason not to do this, is because you'll end up with a bad paper. The other reason not to do this is if I catch you doing this, you'll get a 0 on your paper, and I've caught many people doing this, so do not do this. Make sure your essay is very legible. Make sure you cite all your sources. If you cite all your sources, I'll never punish you for oversighting. Just always cite your sources, even if you're paraphrasing. Cite your sources and make sure that you're not writing directly from your source to your essay. And then you'll avoid what's called mosaic plagiarism. Accidental plagiarism occurs when any of these things happen without the student noticing that it's or realizing that's plagiarism. But now you do realize what is plagiarism and what's not. Now, this might not be an exhaustive list, but these are the kinds that I run into. So again, please do not plagiarize your work for this course. Things will go very badly for both of us. Here I have some additional resources. If you need accommodations in this class, an email and a virtual lobby for our campus DSPS office. Do that sooner rather than later so we can get you what you need for this class. Course policies, I think I've gone over most of these. All weekly assignments are due Sunday at 11:59. I don't reopen any assignments for any reason. So I don't reopen homework. I don't reopen quizzes. I don't reopen papers. You need to submit everything on time by Sunday at 11:59. So if I were you, I'd try to do the work earlier in the week, get it all in, and then we'll be fine. I have a technology resource page for students here. The Writing Center will be very important for this class. I'll have a link to it. I'll require it for your second essay. You'll have to meet with the Writing Center or be docked points, but I'll cover that later on. The Writing Center is a great resource for you. I'd suggest you start using it earlier in the semester. What the Writing Center is, it's a group of professionals work there who are trained to help students improve their writing. Since you're going to have to write something close to 35 pages of writing for this course, I suggest you meet with the Writing Center. They'll look at your paper. They can help you with anything from brainstorming all the way to some help in editing. They won't completely edit your paper for you, but they can give you some pointers. So anything in between. If you need help working out a thesis statement, if you need help figuring out how to organize your paper, if you need help analyzing an argument, if you need help editing, if you need help doing research, any of these things the Writing Center is fully qualified to help you with. I've worked with them before. They have some people who are dedicated to working on philosophy papers in particular. So I'd highly suggest you work with them as soon in the semester as possible. To give you an example of how effective their help can be, I had a student in the past who failed this course, and hard fail, like not even close to passing. The next semester they came back, and I thought, oh no, this is not going to go well. But the student in question went to the Writing Center for every single assignment that we had. She ended up getting a B in the class, and it was a virtual miracle. So I strongly suggest you use the Writing Center, even if you're very confident in your writing. Just another set of eyes. It can be hard to get people to proofread your papers. It can be hard if you want to bounce ideas off people. Go to the Writing Center. Student Health Services, Safe Spaces. I have links to Lupe for first-generation college students, all that stuff. At the bottom of the syllabus is something you will want. It's a course calendar. Everything we'll be doing from beginning to end of the semester. If you're building a calendar for all your courses, this is what you'll want to use. I've put in bold whenever papers are due, so you'll see week 1, August 30th, you'll need to complete micropaper 1, so I'll talk about that in another video. In fact, you'll see every week there's something in bold, which means every week in this class, you're either turning in a paper or doing a test. One of those two things every single week. So know when things are due, and you'll see that the calendar will direct you to the modules for the week. So back to the modules here. Here's the work you're going to have to do. In addition to that, you'll also have a micropaper to write on the trolley problems lecture. And I'll talk about that in our next lecture. So that's everything for today. Thanks for checking out the video. I look forward to seeing what you write. Before I go though, I have one more thing to talk about, and that's the topic of our course. So the way these courses typically go is there's a blitz through logic in the first 2/5, and then there's the topic that we're going to dive into in this class. The topic for this class is the moral status of non-human animals. And I don't know how it's a weird thing about this class that you sign up for the course without knowing exactly what the topic is, just knowing that you're going to do some writing. And then we hit you with the topic on the first day. This is a topic that I've been pretty passionate about and consider myself somewhat of an expert in. I hope it interests you. So the way our course will roll out is like this. We'll be doing logic for the first 7 weeks. Then in week 8, we'll switch over to talking about big moral theories, specifically utilitarianism in week 8, deontology in week 9, and contractarianism in week 10. If you're not familiar with these terms now, you will be familiar with them. We'll be talking primarily about how these big moral theories, what they have to say about the moral status of non-human animals. How much consideration do they deserve? Do they deserve moral consideration equal to human beings? Do they deserve no moral consideration at all? Can we treat them just like we would a rock? Or is it somewhere in between there? Do they deserve rights? Are they the sorts of things that it's appropriate to say that they have rights? Even though they don't recognize the category of rights, is it still appropriate to apply, to think of them as having rights that need to be respected? How should the way we think about them in terms of moral consideration and rights, how should that affect our practices? So should we continue farming them in the ways that we do? Or if we shouldn't, which ways are acceptable and which ways aren't? Or should we not be farming them for food at all? Should we be abolitionist about the practice of using animals for food? Experimentation. Should we be, is it perfectly permissible to use them for whatever experimental purpose we would like? Or should we be completely abolitionist about it? Should we not use them for any experiments? Or are some experiments permitted, some not, and what criteria would have to be met for them to be permissible or not permissible? Animals in entertainment, animals for clothing. We'll be talking about all that stuff in this course. You'll get a little bit of a taste of our ethics talk in the trolley problems lecture. So in the trolley problems lecture, I'll be throwing some, by now, rather infamous thought experiments at you, just to get you to start thinking ethically. We won't come back to ethics until week 8. So I'll have a little lecture about ethics in the trolley problems lecture. You'll write about that this week, so it'll give you something to write about, since I haven't assigned you any reading yet, although you have some right after this video. you'll have something to write on with the lecture on ethics. We'll take a detour through logic for 7 weeks, and then we'll come back to ethics for week 8 through the conclusion. We'll be bringing together what we learned in logic, what we learned about the big ethical theories, what we learned about particular complications with non-human animals, and you'll be bringing that all together for a final paper. I hope you find that topic interesting already. If you don't find it interesting now, hopefully you find it interesting later. So, thanks for sticking with me to the end. As you may have noticed, sometimes I pause for a long time speaking. I'm also a bit of a slow speaker, so you might want to speed up these YouTube videos to about 1.25 or 1.5, whatever will get you through me talking and you still understanding the content. So, again, thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you in the next lecture.